Oops. Hey, P.O.G. It's Kat. I wasn't recording a minute ago. So, okay, we'll start again. This is April 25, Friday. It's about 9:45 in the morning. I'm not on my perch. I'm inside. It's a nice day, though. Not very sunny. It's kind of overcast for right now, but it'll be up to close to 70 today. Maybe even a little over 70. I don't know. But that's real nice for this time of year in Michigan. Anywho, something popped in my head not long ago that I thought, well, yeah, let's go ahead and record on this. Like I said, I record things that are just kind of from my life as a P.O.G, just to kind of show, here's life of a P.O.G. And sometimes they're messages from God, and sometimes they're not. They're just, And so, take this however you want. But I was looking at a website of a car manufacturer and Toyota, if you want to know. It's been a long time since I had a vehicle. A good 10, 12 years since I had a car. More than that, actually. It's been about 10 or 15 years. And I didn't think that I would ever be driving again just because of my health issues. But, the Lord recently has been working on my heart. No, you can, if you want to drive, you can drive. You want to get a car, you can get a car, Don't limit God. God can bring you back. So I was thinking, well, hey, okay. What kind of car would I like to get if I ever get a chance to get a car? If I ever, have the finances and whatever serendipity moments and I can, buy a car. Well, first of all, let's just be real. I don't want to finance anything ever again. I never want to deal with financing ever again. If I get a car, I know this is far-fetched, but this is God I'm talking about. God can make this happen. I mean, I'm not going to limit him. I don't want to finance one thing. If I get a house, if I build a house, if I get a car, if I build a business, if I do investments, I'm not financing anything else. Not anything big. Cash and carry, that's how I want to, function. And yeah, that's a big stretch. That's big. That's a lofty goal. But that's kind of how I am right now. I don't want to go through that ever again. That whole, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm not going through that. But, hey, don't limit God. You never know. God could do things. He could do it. He's done it to others. Why not you? He can do that for you. Anywho, I'm looking at Toyota. And because my last car was a Toyota. Beautiful, beautiful Corolla. 2000. It had 32,000 miles. I got it in 06. A little old lady owned it, and she never drove it. And, it was pristine. It was beautiful. And the only thing I didn't like, it didn't have leather interior. I wanted leather interior. I'm sorry. I like leather, okay? Doesn't have to be super luxurious. I just want leather, But anyway, I lost that car. It got repossessed when I got sick and couldn't work. And, I was in LA. And I missed that car. I think I named her Lulu or something. And I missed that car. It was a great car. Great car. I miss her. Anyway, I thought to myself, okay, if I get another car, I'm going to get a minivan, because after I lost Lulu, I went to an auction place, and it was a charitable auction place just outside of Los Angeles. Well, not just outside. It took me about an hour and a half to get there. But it was for a charitable auction in that area, SoCal. And I got a very nice minivan. It was a Kia. And, it was an older car. But I bought the whole thing flat out. Just no financing. I just purchased it. And I got it. And I freaking loved it. It was a new experience for me. I was used to cars. And what I realized when I started really getting used to the minivan, it was a Sedona two-tone. And, I got used to that Sedona. Like, man, every car, now I realize every time I was riding in a car, driving a car, I gotta fall into the car. And I really don't want that. I'd like to step into my vehicle, not fall into it, and then have to climb my way out of it. I stepped into it, and to get out of it, I would pivot and step out of it, I said, yeah, I kind of like this. It's going to be minivans or SUVs from now on. Forget that other thing. And so I loved the minivans. I thought, well, I really like Toyota. The Toyota brand is exceptional to me. Exceptional. And especially hybrids. And there were a lot of people that I used to work with at the company where I used to work. And they had, the Prius and the, I want to say the Land Cruiser I would see, like, ooh, I love that, I said, no, you know what? I'm going to look for something else. And I thought about the Sienna. I said, let's look, today as I'm looking. Let's look at the Sienna. First I looked for an SUV. I thought, I think that's probably not what I want right now. It's a little too much. Those are very popular. And I live in the city. You know what I'm saying? I need something not so desirable. It's a horrible thing to say. But, I'm serious. I'm not trying to flex. And I'm not trying to floss, as they used to say. And, I'm not trying to lift up anybody's radar. I'm not trying to get on anybody's radar. I don't want somebody to salivate when they see the ride going down the street. It's just a vehicle. But I would like something something comfortable. And I like minivans. I've ridden in a Sienna before. And in fact, a neighbor of mine, when we got the settlement back in LA, he said, hey, if you have enough money in your settlement, I'm going to sell my minivan. He had a beautiful champagne-colored Toyota Sienna. And it was gorgeous. I said, why are you selling it? He said, well, I just bought the Land Cruiser in the same color so my wife could have the minivan for her and the kids during the day. And then I'll, to go back and forth to work, I'll just drive the SUV. Well, it turns out she wasn't driving the minivan at all. She would just get up early, load the kids up in the SUV, drive him to work, keep the SUV all day, and then go pick him up at work when the kids got out of school, and they'd go get him when he got off work. And he said, why am I keeping two vehicles and you're not even, I don't want to pay all this insurance, and I'm going to sell the minivan. If you're not going to drive it, I'm going to sell it. And that started a war. He said he had already spoken to it. I already spoke to a neighbor. And a neighbor is interested in buying it. That neighbor was me, And apparently, she did not like that at all. She wanted to keep both vehicles. And so she would get in the vehicle. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I want somebody to know. She started driving the car, and the next thing I know, the minivan, the next thing I know, I'm noticing the minivan. It's parked in front of the apartment building where we live. All of a sudden, I see new dents, new scratches. The fender is bent, and there's new scratches on the side, and there's a dent on the driver's side in the back, and I'm like, oh. She's deciding to mess up the car before I get it. I said, guess what? I'm not getting this car. And, we got the settlement. I said, I need a vehicle. I'm going to go to this auction place, spend a little bit of cash. I'll have something to drive when I move back to Michigan, because I knew by that time I needed to come back here. And of course, my neighbor, he sees me driving this other minivan. He said, what happened? I said, oh, you know what? I went with another direction. I'm sorry. I should have said something to you, because I know you were waiting for me, and yada, yada, yada. I didn't tell him what I saw. I told a different neighbor, okay? Because I wanted to confide in somebody to kind of do a reality check. I don't know if you know this about women. Women do reality checks with one another. I had a neighbor, wonderful person. Her name was Selena. She lived right down the hall from me. And I would say, you know what, Selena? I was going to buy that neighbor's minivan. But then he told me, she's been driving it, a lot. And I noticed her driving it. And I noticed a whole lot of new dents, new scratches on the vehicle, because I kept my eye on it. And Selena said to me, okay, that's why. I said, yeah. I said, you see what I'm seeing, right? She said, definitely. I said, okay. Because I feel terrible about it, but I'm not buying that car. I'm not going to buy it. And so she said, don't worry about it, Catrice. You do what you need to do, she said. And she was kind of like the neighborhood liaison, the community liaison, because, I was like, the stranger. And so I was new and everything, and she was very kind to me and everything. But she knew everybody else in the building. There's always at least one in every building, every neighborhood, every block, And she was that one. She said, don't you worry about it, Catrice. I would talk to the guy who was going to, I forgot his name, the guy who was going to sell you the vehicle, and, I will ask about the new, and she said, I will mention it and see, if he's aware of that and whatever. I said, well, you don't have to do any of that. It's okay. You don't have to. I said, I'm going to go ahead and get the vehicle I want to get. I found a place that I'll be looking at and yada, yada. But she did anyway. She was just kind of like that. And she said, yeah, he noticed it, but, he wasn't going to say anything to me about it. He probably was hoping I didn't notice, but I did. And she told him she noticed. And he said, okay, well, I guess that's that, Anyway, to say all that, I'm looking for another minivan. And because I love Toyota vehicles, And I love the Sienna. Sienna is a great vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and get a minivan. Or at least I'm going to look at them, right? Because if I'm ever in a position to get a minivan, I'm going to go ahead and get a Sienna. And I'm looking through the little options. You know how there's a feature on every car manufacturer's website where you can build your own. I love doing that. I love it. It's like window shopping for women, okay? I freaking love that. Anyway, I'm going through the little options, the color and this and that. Exterior, interior, bells and whistles, you know. Again, out of the blue, I start thinking of why women in general, not every woman is like this, okay? But women generally like a firmer mattress. And men like a softer mattress. And you would think typically that would be the opposite, you know, that women would want it softer and men would want it, you know, solid, firm, you know. Think about this though. It actually makes sense when you look at it this way. I don't want a soft mattress. I actually want a nice firm mattress. Not cement hard, but firm, very supportive. Why? Because I'm already soft. I'm female. You know, women have more fat than men. Women are more cushy. We got more fat. We're gushy. Soft and pillowy. Why? We got to have that extra fat because we got to bear kids. We got to bear the children. We got to carry the children. We got to rock the kids to sleep. We got to breastfeed. We got to have the cushion, right? And so because of that, we tend to be wider, cushier, fluffier, softer. I remember a time when I was working at a mental health facility as a counselor. And I was friends, believe it or not, this is odd. I was friends with an ex-boyfriend, and he was still a friend of mine. We remained friends. And he started dating somebody new, and she was extremely nice. She and I became friends. She was so nice. And I was so very happy for them. I was hoping they would get married, you know, like, you guys are rocking, you know. But she came to visit me. She and this ex-boyfriend of mine, they came to visit me while I was at work. I had a live-in position. So they'd come over. Hey, we're just out. We're going to get some pizza. You want some pizza? Yeah, sure. And, you know, anyway, she was also a plus-size woman. And so we're in the rec room. There's a pool table, you know, some of the residents there playing pool. And we're listening to music and yada yada. And the ex-boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, he says to his girl, "You don't look very comfortable in that chair." She's sitting in one of the chairs there. And, you know, like I said, she was a plus-size woman. I was a plus-size woman. And he said, "You don't look comfortable in that chair. Do you want a different chair?" She said, "No. What are you talking about? This is probably the most comfortable I've been all night." He said, "You don't look it." She said, "Well, I am. Trust me on that. Do not change my chair. I'm keeping this chair." And I distinctly remember that because I understood exactly what she was talking about. I was sitting in the same kind of chair. It was the kind with arms on the side. It was solid. It wasn't a real cushy chair. It wasn't rock hard, but it was pretty firm and pretty, you know, solid. And it pretty much supported her. and her weight and her shape and her size. And she looked very comfortable, like she could almost go to sleep. I said, yeah, I can relate. Yeah. I remembered that because this guy couldn't relate to having all of that support. Crushing her, I guess he thought, maybe. I don't know. Pushing her in. I'm thinking to myself, he really can't see. He doesn't really get it. He's a guy. He was a, big, solid, football player, oak tree, Gomer Pyle kind of guy, But he couldn't relate. He didn't get it. Like, yeah, you're a guy. You don't get this. We're already soft and cushy and gushy and fluffy and so we need support. Listen to me on this. This is where I wanted to get to. Women are already soft, pliable, plush, gushy, cushy, fluffy, all of that. And don't get me wrong, that's what we're supposed to be, and we like being that way. We're girlies, right? And it helps with the kids, it helps with, childbearing and child rearing and all that happiness. And it's some of the qualities that men love about women, that they're all soft and soft as a pillow, But that's also the reason why women need a very solid support system. We need something stable, solid, sturdy, steadfast. Are you getting what I'm putting down here? Do you see where I'm going with this? We need something that's not going to just give in to us sitting on it. No, don't be that pliable that you can't support. Be solid, stable, sturdy. Doesn't mean that you're going to be mean or hurtful, but you're steadfast. You're a rock, you're a strong foundation, kind of like how God is with us, right? And this is what, I'm talking to a lot of men. I know on this. You wonder what she needs, what she wants, what's best for her. She needs you to be the Rock of Gibraltar. She needs you to be, you don't have to be everything to everybody. You don't have to be superhero, this, that, and the other. There already is a savior. You don't have to be the savior. You don't have to be the creator God. You just need to be sturdy, solid, secure, steadfast. And when you're that way, when you're like that for a woman in your life, she can relax. She can be herself. She can relax. She knows you got it. You're a strong foundation. You're steady, you're sure, you're consistent. I'm not saying turn into John Wayne or Clint Eastwood or anything, okay? I'm just saying you can be who you are and still be consistent with her. Still be the steady rock. And then she can be the support to you. Do you understand the exchange here? There's times when you need to relax, when you need to let go. And that's what she's there for. She's there to pull that out of you in a safe. She is your safe place to fall, to land, to melt into. She's your safe place. You're her safe place. And that's what it's supposed to be like. Okay? You're not supposed to switch these roles up. Not all the time. There's times when you will, okay? There's times when you will. Yeah, sure. But for the most part, you're the rock. She's the pillow you fall on. And when you need to release, you need to let go, she's that safe place for you. So I don't know why I got this dichotomy message or whatever. You know, I'm guessing somebody needs to hear it. Because I think there's somebody who has been trying to be something else that they're not. They're trying to be something and somebody else. Stop doing that. God knows what He made in you, what He put in you, how He created you, how He fashioned you. Be that. You can find all about that from God. He knows what He made. He's the manufacturer. And just be that. And God knows the one that you're supposed to fit with, if that is for you. And don't try to, fit into something else. It's not going to work. You might be able to fool people a while. You might even be able to fool yourself a while. But don't think that's going to be okay. God knows you too well. He made you. So that's what I wanted to bring out. I didn't have any particular, major lesson or anything. I just wanted you to know who you are. And if you were wondering, a lot of you guys out there like, well, what does she need? What do I do? That's what you do. Be who you are and be that steady rock for her. Be solid. I remember talking to a friend about how I would decorate my kitchen. How would I design a kitchen if I had a certain space that we were talking about? I said, oh yeah, I definitely love the island, and the breakfast bar on one end of the island, or maybe on two sides of the island, and the little bar stools and everything. And they were talking about, and I don't want those big fluffy cushions and seat cushions that, some people like those, so you have them available, but I really hate them. I said, I hate them too. And we were both saying, why do we hate them so much? I mean, we're supposed to like them. I hate them because they're not comfortable for me. I'm not comfortable with seat cushions all the time. Maybe for some, chairs or whatever, but I'm not trying to have a seat cushion. If you give me a solid, well-constructed, sturdy, supportive bar stool with a back and maybe some armrests and an easy way to climb up and down off of it and onto it, I am golden. I don't ever have to, move. I just need to get comfortable right there. Don't put a seat cushion there. Don't put a back cushion there. Everything is solid and able to support me. I'm golden. And she was surprised. She said, I don't remember meeting anybody that felt that way like I do. I said, well, you'd be surprised. There's lots of people that feel that way. We don't all like those pillows and cushions and, they look good, but move it out the way before I sit down. I'm not sitting down with a seat cushion there. And, I'm not on a solid surface unless I would sink in. I don't want that. Is it my bed? Then I don't want that. Even my bed, I don't want all that cushion. She said, I'm the same way. I need the support. It's easier for me to climb on, and it's easier for me to climb up. and I'm comfortable in the seat. And there's something about the seat. People listening to me right now, you have a seat of authority. This sounds real tangential, but just listen. You have a seat of authority that you're trying to define yourself, or you're trying to decorate it yourself, or you're trying to alter the design of it. God knows what you are and what He put in you. And He knows the seat of authority that you have. Let Him do it for you. He knows what it is. He knows how to do it. Don't be trying to help God. Not this time. All right? He knows what you are and how you are and what works for you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'll go ahead and end this video because it's getting long. But I just wanted to share some little snippets, the day of a life of a P.O.G. And, some insights into gender roles, perhaps. You could call that. That'd be cool. Anywho, P.O.G., I love you guys. Let's keep one another in prayer. And until we meet up again, P.O.G., suit up.